command the world came to be. We praise you, our God, sovereign of the universe, worshipped by your people, lauded and glorified by those who love and serve you. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty, sole source of the life of all worlds. We praise you, sovereign God, to whom all praise is due. I will exalt you, my sovereign God,
and praise your name forever.
Beginning each day with praise.
I will extol your name forever.
Cause us to see your greatnesses beyond us.
Eternal one, forever to be praised.
Declaring your works to each generation.
We bear witness to your mighty acts.
Even as they speak of your splendor.
So I will meditate on your wonderful deeds.
As they tell of your awesome might.
So I will recount your greatness.
Great is your goodness which they celebrate.
They sing of your righteousness.
Holding us in your grace and compassion.
You are patient and abounding in love.
In your goodness, eternal God.
You have mercy on all your creatures.
Joyfully your work shall thank you.
And your faithful ones shall praise you.
Knowing how great is your majesty.
They proclaim your might.
Let all humanity perceive your power.
And the glorious splendor of your redemption.
Mighty is your rule and everlasting.
Your reign endures in all generations.
O God, you support the falling.
Raise up all who are bowed down.
Pleading all look and hope to you.
And you give them their food in due season.
Quietly you open your hand.
And satisfy the needs of every living creature.
Righteous are you in all your ways.
And loving in all your deeds.
So near are you to all who call upon you.
To all who call upon you in truth.
The desire of those who revere you, you fulfill.
You hear their cry and help.
Unceasingly our lips shall sing God's praise.
So may all creatures laud God's holy name forever.
Please stand. Yishtabach Shimcha la'ad malkeinu, ha'el ha'melech ha'kadosh b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, ki l'chan la'adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, shemushbacha, halel v'zimra, brachot v'hoda'ot, me'ata v'adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'shivrei zimra.
And we turn over to 135. Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, atzer or uvorei choshech, v'sei shalom uvorei et hakol, v'meir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, Uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'yishmi. Ma rabu ma'asecha, Adonai. Kulam b'chochma asita, v'laharetz kinyanecha. Tiparach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, v'al me'orei or she'asita, yefa'arucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Yoser HaMorot. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us, and teach us, incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Enlighten us with your teaching, make us faithful to your commandments, and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity. We praise you, O God. In love you called your people Israel to serve you. Let's stand. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. le'olam va'ed. V'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi metzabecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'leftecha b'derech v'shochbecha uv'kumecha v'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinecha v'tartam al mezuzot beitecha uv'ishavecha. Please be seated. V'kayam v'tov yafeh hadavar hazeh aleinu le'olam va'ed emet sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu b'Elohei Avotenu Malkeinu melech Avotenu yotzreinu tzur yeshuvateinu Vodeinu matzilenu me'olam hu shemecha ein Elohim zulatecha emet atahu rishon v'atahu acharon u'mibaladecha ein lanu Moshiach miMitzrayim ga'altanu Adonai Eloheinu miBeit Avadim peritanu Moshe Miriam u'vnei Yisrael lecha'anu shira v'simcha rabba v'amru kulam Yicha bocha b'alim Adonai Yicha bocha b'zahav ha'kodesh Orat hilot oseferet Shir ha'chadasha shibchu ba'olim Osefat chayam Yachat kulam ha'luchim lechu De'amaru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Go'alenu Adonai Tzvaot Shamo, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, God Yisrael. Please stand. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, U'mevi geula livnei b'neihem, L'ma'an shmo v'yahava, Melech ozer Moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'ezrat Sarah, Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, V'chayim etim atah rav le'hoshia, Mashiv ha'ruach u'morid ha'geshem, Mazriach ha'shemesh u'morid ha'tal, Mechalkel chayim b'chesed, Mechayim etim barachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech cholim, Umatir asurim, Umkayim emunato l'shenei afar, Mi chamocha ba'al gevorot, Umi do melech, Melech me'mitum chaye umatzmiach yeshua, V'ne'eman atala chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hametim. We sanctify your name on earth. As in the prophet's vision, the hosts of heaven sing your praise above, for so it is written.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Lo kol haaretz kavod.
Vodo male olam.
Baruch Adonai,
Imkomecha malkeinu tofia, v'tim lo chalenu, ki mechakim anachnu lach.
Baruch Adonai Olam, Elohai Tzion, Gadol Adon, Hallelujah.
V'dor v'dor nagid golecha, u'netzach netzachim kedushat chamadish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. And let's be seated. You inspired our ancestors to hallow this day for your service. When upon its coming we pause to contemplate our life, we learn anew that we do not live by bread alone, but also by the spiritual nourishment we receive when we open ourselves to your influence. We thank you for the Sabbath day and for the opportunity it offers to enhance the quality of our lives. We thank you for its joy, its peace. May our worship help us to take into our hearts its message of holiness. Consecrate all our days by devotion to what is true, beautiful and good.
Yismachu b'malchutcha, Yismachu b'malchutcha, Shomrei Shabbat, Borei Onek, Kadosh Shavi, Kulam Yisma'u v'yitchanuku b'tovecha, v'chashvi l'sitavo, v'kidrosh to, v'chashvi l'sitavo, v'kidrosh to, Chemdat Yamim, Oto Karata, Sechte Amachasei, Amachasei l'Bereshit.
Our God and God of our ancestors, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness. Gladden us with your salvation and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel who hallow your name be exalted by its peace. We praise you,
O God, for the holiness of the Sabbath.
Would say Adonai Eloheinu b'amachai Yisrael, Utfilatam b'hava tekabel, Uti ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael emecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Shel techa levadecha, v'yira na'avot, Modim anachnu lach, Sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed, Tzur chayenu magen yishenu, Atahu ledor vador, Noded lecha u'nsaper tilotecha, Al chayim ha'mizurim bi'adecha, Al nishmotenu ha'pukadot lach, V'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu, V'al niflotecha v'tovatecha, Shebechol eidede v'aboker v'tzohrayim, Baruch atah Adonai, Atov shimcha v'lechana ele hodot, Sim shalom. Tova uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'yol kol Yisrael, Amecha. Baruchenu Avinu, Kulanu k'echad v'or panecha, Ki v'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Torat chayim, v'havat chesed, U'tzedaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amacha Yisrael, et kol ha'amim, v'chol eitu v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Osei Hashalom.
Please turn over to page 481, 481. There is none like you, eternal one among the God's people worship, and there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting, your reign endures from age to age. Eternal one, you reign, you have reigned, you will reign forever. Eternal God, give strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people. Peace.
And Kamocha Elohim Adonai, Le'en Gamasecha, Malchutcha Malchut Olamim, Umeshatecha B'chol Adon. Adonai Melech, Adonai Melech, Adonai Iloch Le'olam V'amen. Adonai Oz Ne'moifen, Adonai Yavarem, Et Amo V'Shalom.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God. The Eternal God is one.
Echad Eloheinu, Adon Eloheinu, Adon Shalom.
Gadu Adonai Itin Roma Mashmo Yachdav. Let us magnify the Eternal One. Together, let us exalt God's name. Do we have any birthdays for this month? Okay, carry on, sir. Please be seated, everybody. Well, as we approach Rosh Hashanah, I'll be reading from Nitzavim. I'm going to read the bit in between the parts that we read on Yom Kippur morning. So there's a split reading in Nitzavim on Yom Kippur, and I'm going to go for the one right in the middle so you don't miss out on anything. And we have blessings, curses, choices, free will. You can debate all that. Whether there is such a thing as free will or not, and how much there is, and nature and nurture, and all those good things. And it's Deuteronomy chapter 30, and I'll read verses 1 through 10. Somchino 1141, 1141, and in the JPSA, page 322. And you also recognize some of the words from the Shema, the long paragraph just after the main bit in the middle. Right.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'chavanu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torata. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
When all these things befall you, the blessing and the curse that I have set before you, and you take them to heart amidst the various nations to which the Lord your God has banished you, and you return to the Lord your God, and you and your children heed his command with all your heart and soul, just as I enjoin upon you this day, then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and take you back in love. He will bring you together again from all the peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you, even if you're outcast or at the ends of the world. From there the Lord your God will gather you, from there he will fetch you. And the Lord your God will bring you to the land that your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. He will make you more prosperous and more numerous than your fathers. Then the Lord your God will open up your heart and the hearts of your offspring to love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, in order that you may live. The Lord your God will inflict all those curses upon the enemies and foes who persecuted you. You, however, will again heed the Lord and obey all his commandments that I enjoin you upon this day. And the Lord your God will grant you abounding prosperity in all your undertakings, to the issue of your womb, the offspring of your cattle, and the produce of your soil. For the Lord will again delight in your well-being, as he did in that of your fathers. Since you will be heeding the Lord your God and keeping his commandments and laws that are recorded in this book of the teaching, once you return to the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. V'haya ki yavo'u alecha kol hadibarim ha'ela ha'bracha v'ha'klala asher natati lefanecha v'hashevota el levavecha v'chol hagoyim asher hidichacha Adonai Elohecha shama v'shavta ad Adonai Elohecha v'shamata v'kolo k'kol asher anuchi mitzabecha hayom ata uvanecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha V'shav Adonai Elohecha et shavutecha, v'richamecha, v'shav v'kibetzcha, mikol ha'amim asher hefitzecha, Adonai Elohecha, shama, im yihiyeh nidichacha, b'ktzei hashamayim misham, yukibetzcha, Adonai Elohecha, u'misham yikachecha, v'heviacha, Adonai Elohecha, el haaretz asher yarshu avatecha, v'rishta, V'heitivacha, v'hirbacha, me'avatecha. Umal Adonai Elohecha et levabecha, ve'et levav zarecha. V'hava et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levabecha, u'v'chol nafshecha. L'ma'an chayecha. V'natan Adonai Elohecha et kol ha'alot ha'ele al oivecha, v'al sonecha, asher redafrucha. Ata tashuv v'shamata, V'chol Adonai v'asita et kol mitzvotav asher anochi mitzabecha hayom v'hotircha Adonai Elohecha b'chol ma'aseh yadecha v'fri vitnecha v'fri v'hemtecha v'fri adamatecha l'tova ki yashuv Adonai lasus alecha l'tov ka'asher sas al avetecha ki tishma v'chol Adonai Elohecha lishmor mitzvotav v'chukotav ha'ketuva b'sefer ha'torah Hazeh, Tashuv el Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levabecha, B'chol nafshecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam natah b'tachenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Let's stand.
Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
It's all this over here.
seated, everybody.
The Haftorah portion today, as it has been for the last few weeks, is from Isaiah, as we are practically into the new year, and these readings are meant to comfort us and give us hope, and remember that we are God's chosen people, however you care to interpret that, and God is on our side. So, today I shall be reading from Isaiah chapter 63, verses 1 to 9. It's in the Sonshino on page 1147. 1147, and in the JPSA Tanakh, page 751, at the foot of the page. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nviim tovim, v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher b'Torah, u'v'Moshe avdo, u'v'Yisrael amo, u'v'nviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Who is this coming from Edom, in crimson garments from Bozrah? Who is this, majestic in attire, pressing forward in his great might? It is I who contend victoriously, powerful to give triumph. Why is your clothing so red, your garments like his who treads grapes? I trod out a vintage alone. Of the peoples no man was with me. I trod them down in my anger, trampled them in my rage. Their lifeblood bespattered my garments, and all my clothing was stained. For I had planned a day of vengeance, and my year of redemption arrived. Then I looked, but there were none to help. I stared, but there were none to aid. So my own arm wrought the triumph, and my own rage was my aid. I trampled the peoples in my anger. I made them drunk with my rage, and I hurled their glory to the ground. I will recount the kind acts of the Lord, the praises of the Lord, for all that the Lord has wrought for us, the vast bounty to the house of Israel that he bestowed upon them, according to his mercy and his great kindness. He thought, surely they are my people, children who will not play false. So he was their deliverer. In all their troubles, he was troubled, and the angel of his presence delivered them. In his love and pity, he himself redeemed them, raised them, and exalted them all the days of old. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השלום.
We're on 484. Do we have a volunteer to wish wisdom to our leaders? Stephen.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our Sovereign Lady Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family,
for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
Volunteer for the prayer for community.
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us, and heal those in anxiety or pain.
And Ellen, good to see you, and we wish you and the whole family strength and renewal in the coming year, bit by bit.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm also thinking of someone who's cared for us all over the years, and that's Joy Katz.
Yeah.
I believe tomorrow is the anniversary of her husband Joe's death. It's either tomorrow or the next day. It's been about 20 years. And Joy misses him greatly. So if you see her tomorrow night or Monday, wish her strength. Anybody else that we should be thinking of right now?
Must be some.
Okay. Right, well, we'll carry on. Who would like to read the paragraph at the top of 485? Hannah.
May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the house of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may we all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
And Bernie, prayer for Israel.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed, inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants and to implement the prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
The Hallelujah Shem Adonai Ki Niskav Shemo Levado. Let us praise the Eternal One, whose name alone is exalted. Responsibly.
God's teaching is perfect,
reviving the soul.
God's word is unfailing,
Making wise the simple.
God's precepts are right,
Delighting the mind.
God's commandments are clear,
Enlightening the eyes.
God's doctrine is pure,
Enduring forever.
God's guidance is true,
And altogether just.
And Hafzibah, the short paragraph at the top of 489.
Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace.
Well, it's been an interesting week, as I already mentioned. Many of you watched the proceedings in Parliament. I'm going to approach it from an oblique angle.
Some bits of it. Bits of it.
Okay.
And it takes so much.
Well, one of the controversies, or I should say controversies, if that's correct for all of you, is the question of the tone of the speeches and the rhetoric. And, you know, there's been the statements that we would expect condemning that sort of thing. And here's one from the Right Reverend David Urquhart, who's the Bishop of Birmingham, and very noble sentiments. And he says, when we're in Parliament and when we're leaders in society, we need to recover our roots, which indeed is in a Christian tradition of do to others as you'd have done to yourself. And also love your neighbor and those very big themes. Get lost in the heat of individual discussions and the anxiety that decisions like Brexit bring in people. So I think he's correct in linking the aggression to anxiety, because these are very anxious times, and our leaders are human beings, more or less, and they're prone to the same rubbish psychologically that we may feel ourselves. Maybe they're more exposed than we are in many ways. What they say is heard by millions, and what we say is heard just by our family or friends. So they're very exposed. Right, okay, they have training. They can repress some of their instincts. But some of them they can't. So for a bit of perspective, I wanted to try and find things that parliamentarians around the world say about the same business. And I looked at places where one would expect things to be pretty outrageous, like Australia. There's lots of seething in Congress in the States, and there's other places. And then I looked to what we think might be just about the nicest country around in many ways, Canada. They're very sweet and liberal, there's a lot of land, and it's underpopulated, and, you know, not as much tension. And at least at the moment. And I found something absolutely wonderful by a man named Daniel Westlake, who's an observer of Canadian politics. And what he's arguing is there needs to be a lot more power given to the Speaker of Parliament so that he or she can increase civility. Well, no, that's problematic, because if you have a strong Speaker, they can get it from one end or the both ends. So that's tricky too. And Daniel Westlake writes, heckling is common practice in Canadian Parliament. And every parliamentary session has its fair share of inappropriate outbursts. In my last post, I wrote about how parties needed to work together to reestablish norms to govern the way that Parliament used its time. In that post, I noted that there are some, albeit limited, changes in the way Parliament operates that could increase civility. One way to increase civility in Parliament would be to empower the speakers of the House of Commons and provincial legislatures to enforce more rigorous standards of civility and decorum, including strict limitations on the heckling of MPs and by MPs. And at various points, different parties have claimed that their members will either reduce or altogether stop heckling speakers from the other parties. These commitments rarely last through to the end of parliamentary session. The problem with commitments made by individual parties is that each party faces a collective action problem when it comes to enforcing stricter standards of civility on their members. Parties that remain silent while their opponents speak allow opposing parties to get their message out clearly and without interruption, while their members have to try to speak over the shouting of their opponents. If one party unilaterally decides to stop heckling, it puts itself at a disadvantage when engaging in parliamentary debate, making it easier for their opponents to present their case to the public, while ensuring that it remains difficult to present their own case. As a result, it is difficult to reduce heckling and similar uncivil behavior. through trusting parties and individual MPs' self-restraint alone. And then he goes out a long thing about singling out members who speak disrespectfully. And then here comes the one that's really nice. Heckling is often defended by traditionalists as allowing for witty exchanges between members and increasing the level of exchange between members during the debates. The problem with this is that while at its best a heckle might be witty or funny, it's almost impossible to make a good argument in the approximately 15 seconds that a heckle lasts for. To make a meaningful contribution to a debate, a speaker needs a reasonable amount of time to present an argument, explain, and provide evidence to support it. That cannot be done in the time a heckle takes. While a good heckle might be able to get laughs from other members and from those watching, it cannot present the information needed to know why a particular member supports or opposes a particular piece of legislation or government body. A good heckle can amuse observers, but it cannot make them more informed, nor does it much to improve the quality of parliamentary debate. Oh, doesn't that sound high-minded? Right. And then I thought, one of the rudest places around when it comes to Parliament is our beloved state of Israel. If you read the Israeli papers, it's unbelievable what the Chavrei Knesset, the members of Knesset, say and do to each other. At the very least, as my Aunt Miriam would say, it's embarrassing. And I found a commentator, someone far more conservative than I would normally respect, and maybe that's good for me too. And he writes a challenge on this very, very question to the members of Knesset and the implications of the behavior of those in Knesset on all sides. And he writes, the biggest challenge facing Israeli society is the lack of trust between its social sectors and political camps. This isn't to say everyone needs to agree all the time. We all know the cliche, 3 Jews have 4 opinions, and we can take pride in the Jewish state's healthy culture of debate and critical thinking. However, the suspicion, stoked by a few, shared by many, that others are stealing their country and destroying their home needs to be dealt with. I want my daughter to grow up in a society that is respectful of others and their opinions. The feeling of disappointment is not restricted to one sector of the population or one political camp. The ultra-Orthodox genuinely think there's a secular agenda to change their religious beliefs. The secular and traditional communities feel the Orthodox wish to run the country according to stringent interpretations of Jewish law. The dichotomy between the left and right political camps has turned the word leftist into an insult, and those holding views of right of center into fascists. Israel needs to take a collective breath and calm down. We must regain faith in our politicians and in their commitments to Israel, bless you, as a Jewish and democratic state. Regardless of who we vote for, we need to respect the other side. Yitzhak Rabin and Yitzhak Shamir were fierce and bitter political rivals with very different worldviews. At the same time, both were Zionists, dedicated to Israel and the Jewish people. Right, left, and center, you can find politicians acting for what they feel are Israel's best interests. But too often we witness mudslinging between members of Knesset, and frequently they criticize what they think are the secret hidden motives of their opponents, instead of the policy proposed. This must change. The Israeli public needs to be able to appreciate leaders who advance a principled agenda and reject name-calling. So, what am I trying to say, rather obliquely?
It's on everywhere.
Is we're not so special, and maybe it's one of our myths we need to get rid of, that we're sort of wonderful and kind and gentle in our civil discourse. And also, I suppose, we remind ourselves, coming into Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where there are people, there's trouble. Amen. So let's turn over to page 520 and please stand for the Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'tek pilula v'yotzer breshit asher sam chakenu li'achel et shema l'gar aleinu l'hamim
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך המלכים הקדוש 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 ברוך הוא.
Shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed aretz Moshav Yekarov Shemayim Ima'al Ushchinatu Zobegov Henu Hu Eloheinu Ein Od Emet Malkeinu Efesulato Kakatuv B'Torato Yadata Hayom V'Hashevota El Levavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim B'Shemayim Ima'al V'Haaretz Mitachat Od. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule. When all will invoke your name, relinquish evil, and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May the time come soon and last forever. For all sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. This law, its joy, sorrows are filled in accordance with her. And you send death with its promise of eternal peace. And on this Shabbat, just before Rosh Hashanah, we remember our loved ones. Minnie Kasher, Pearl Saunders, and Doris Travis. And would anyone like to mention the name of a loved one or a friend?
Just mention my late auntie, Irene Holt, my mother's sister-in-law, passed away a week ago, aged 89, ripe old age, so she lived her life, but I just thought that she should get a mention.
Yeah. I wish you and the family all the very best.
Thank you.
Yeah. Teach us to accept humbly, courageously, whatever burden is laid upon us. Comfort those who mourn, and let the light of faith illumine the darkness of our sorrow with the hope of immortality. Strengthen us at all times with unfailing trust in your confidence. Yitgadal yitkadash merava, ba'alma divrah chirotei b'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon yamecha, b'chayei dechol beit Beit Yisrael, V'gala B'zman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Nevorach Le'olam U'Le'Me'elam Haya. Yitzvarach V'yishtabach V'yifrar V'termam V'yitnaseh. V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Nekudashah B'richu. Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata. Tushbachata V'nechamata. Tamran B'Alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu B'yol Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu B'yol Kol Yisrael B'yol Kol B'nei Adam V'imru Amen. And let's be seated. And have Shabbat Shalom. We're probably a half hour earlier than our friends downstairs.
They've got about 10 to 15 minutes left.
Really?
Yeah, so I went down to after.
Okay, well I give you dispensation to make your choice, whether you wait for Kiddush or whether you run home. And yeah, I wish all of you a good new year and strength. And I suppose maybe one of the messages from today and this week is that each of us, whether we're leaders or followers, we each have more power than we can begin to imagine as far as how we affect other people.
May we wish you and Kathy and the children a happy, sweet, peaceful, stimulating, fulfilling, and all the other things that you would like to see New Year.
Vielen Dank. Ein gutes neues Jahr.
How long did you say they got downstairs? How long have we got to wait for downstairs?
About 10 minutes.
Okay.
What are they on down there?
I wasn't sure, but I asked one of the leaders, he just indicated to me.
Yeah, they're often a bit optimistic, so
Okay.
yeah, it could be longer.
Yeah, I think so. We've been rehearsing here for the past 3 days, so, well, 3 hours at a time, actually. But we're like, yes, no, I think so. Just, I told I arranged with Kevin that I'm going to bring my people.
But just to make sure.
I'm going to try what they've got, but I've been told it's an organ. So I'm not able to use a piano sound.
The possibilities.
Right. I'm kind of like quite attached to doing that, and some of the music I've selected
See me on
my
my
best.
So you'll bring your own.
Yes, I mean I might try with the room because they room in nursery too.
Where did the other
Yes, well basically I didn't know Kevin had told me which room we were having services in, so I just went there and the person on duty made the assumption that it was they got it wrong. They assumed it was what we used in the past.
Yes, okay.
They made a reasonable assumption.
Yes.
So I've not seen that room yet.
You know where what they call a PM
For the chick
Sorry.
Oh, it's a good chick.
some years ago.
Yeah,
Do you remember right on the
right, on the left.
Is it upstairs or
No, no, it's downstairs. As you come into the hospital.
It's more like a tin.
Yes, you have a little training, okay. And then there's a terminal,
Well, where do you think we'll be within the layout? It's really quite a...
Sorry, I'm so late, Craig.
It's okay.
I'm not quite straight.
I won't be there too early, so I don't know.
I had a in the garden yesterday.
It's just like, but like, I mean, like,
And there was the leftovers, you know.
I prefer not being right in the back, if that's an option.
No,
I feel like, well, I'll do whatever.
you need to be able to have.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I mean, what would be kind of good would be like, I don't know what rooms like, at the front to the side or something like that.
I think it's going to be.
Very vague.
I went to United in Kensington.
I'll do whatever.
What time you
Oh yeah, I'll be there by 6. Yeah. I'll make a suggestion that I'm getting a taxi with my people and I'll make it back. Maybe I can get a lift back on Monday from someone, so it's saving money, but like, whatever, but I can't carry a keyboard on the bus.
I don't know. We
I'm going away, actually.
Where do you live, Joseph?
When do you finish? When do you
Down
finish?
Reddit.
Oh,
Anyone, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sunday's not a problem because Sunday I'll just leave.
Yeah, get that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so Sunday night I'll leave the people
that's
there
the most
and keep it
important.
safe. So, yeah.
She,
Right, so
I think it's,
yes,
it's not quite the same as it used to be, which is a euphemism for.
So just I told Kevin that these stands are going to go when something moves.
Few days, they're not going into Manhattan.
Kevin said,
Yes, Kevin's got all these.
yes,
So do you want those stands?
those 3 stands.
But I thought that,
That's
do
it.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Okay, well, it's too late now. I mean, I'm not going to see them.
Oh, that's
their names,
Without
so,
climbing mountains.
so they have their names.
Oh, that's fantastic. Take a good book about refugees, like, World War II refugees. Do you make refugees just like all your own shit?
I don't think so.
Immigrants in steerage. Well, you're on your first class cabin.
I'm not, no, I've got that, but it's what it is, I'm not doing it because it's
so exciting.
More exciting.
I've always wanted to do that, just to stand on deck and watch the ocean. Oh, that's great.
No, so, okay, right, please don't I see you.
You'll see me. See you in the next few days.
What I said first was okay with you.
So it's 10, is it 10 or
I said you after our meeting, I said you think about what I propose we should do for the
You can always get
minimum
Go
payment.
away because then you're on security.
Okay.
Can you resend?
Yeah. Just that you should read the first 6 lines in English and Hebrew and English, and then we take over from there.
Just resend it.
Okay.
Okay. Were you running? Or are you staying?
I don't know, Daniel's on security, so I'm going to wait probably. No choice. Nothing else to do.
Huh?
Nothing else to do.
For you. Yeah. How are your parents?
No, our mum's still struggling with walking mobility, but we just got to do ongoing plans.
Yeah.
The walking is the real,
Oh, that's all
very,
the labels.
very fragile on her feet.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Thank you,
she was unwell with this.
You know that tune from down along where it comes
The
from
main,
under
she's
the
off to Miami
down along.
in 2 weeks.
The normal way.
Sing it to me.
Which is
No, I
nice
can't
to
sing.
do that because last year she was
Down along the Shambhala.
I think Dad's a bit nervous about it. It's a bit fragility. So I've made sure that I've got a wheelchair at the airport.
Yeah, I've done that. Funny.
Let's
Is that your favourite?
It's difficult, but you know.
Is that your favourite?
Yes.
Alright, I'll try and do it next time I see you.
Because I went to United last week and I got all the old tunes. They don't change.
Which shawl?
Kansas.
Because some United do change. It's a bit of a. It's not true that the Orthodox tunes stay the same, but maybe some shawls
There
do.
was some nasty ones she
Yeah,
broke.
well, no,
That's what
Kansas.
last one.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago she felt
Yeah, but not all United tunes stay the same tunes. But, yeah, no, I know that. I know who wrote that. Just trying to find out. It sounds like it was
those
written.
risks and to sit at home.
I know you have to be trained for something as well. Your remarks on Lindsay, I think it's terrific.
Yeah.
It's getting harder.
No, I'll do that too, please.
Yeah.
I always try.
Keep an eye out.
I always try and
At least
respond to
you're within
requests.
advice, so that's the
I
emergency
wanted to
we
say,
can rally around.
while there's not a whole load
Yeah.
of people around,
Yeah.
I wish you and all the choir and all the
Next person has to calm down,
health,
it's my
strength,
brother-in-law.
and to also enjoy the service.
Yes.
You give us so much pleasure.
I will try to. I mean, thank you very much.
All of that, I said I do.
They're
Yeah.
nice people, and I sort of.
He gets
Yeah.
emotional, doesn't he?
Well,
It's nice for me
it's
to have
his,
a little
I think it's to do
quartet.
with his
You know,
background.
I used to have that in my old school, and now I only have one at a time. So it's nice.
Yeah, I meant that.
I
really,
wouldn't
I
necessarily
do.
admit to that,
No,
but
no, no.
and then he did
But
it.
I do think you give
That's a
it
bit of
vigour.
additional
Yeah,
experience.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got vigour.
And he's always very anti-Corbyn.
I'm not so sure that the Corbyn is that
That's why I always try and choose things that are seasonal.
That's strong enough.
The answer is
I think a lot of it is
it's not in our liturgy, so that does be piece. So I try and the pieces that have been cut from the liberal liturgy, so I try and bring them in other places, so we get to hit them.
I don't like him. I think he's incompetent, but I don't think he's the devil that
No, I think that's worse people are
So I haven't responded.
Okay,
I say that it's going to council.
Yes, fine.
And then
he's just got himself too late.
he gets very wound
Tea
up.
and coffee and sunny cake from Hopper Farm.
Calm it down.
No,
I said A. I don't know.
Definitely by 6.
I don't
No,
think
you
we're
mean the
gonna be
second service?
So we
No,
don't
yeah, I don't
know
think
that
so.
certain section
Service is
every
Hopper
day.
6, right? You said
No, I've got to go to my. I've got to go. I've got to
Well, I think he's.
family after.
I think he's very
So
silly.
I want to.
Letting himself. Either it was naivety
Well,
or
what time
having
is
some
it?
scene in that.
Well, it doesn't say
I
what
think
time
it's silly
it
things to do.
is. The service starts at what, 6?
Upset.
Is it 1 hour and a quarter?
It will upset people.
So
He
Not
needs
much
to
of it.
to go there.
He's always wanted to be an MP.
Yes.
He should have done
Yeah.
that.
Maybe he wants to be an MP.
Okay.
But you can't be chief
So what I'll
executive
do-
and duties and whilst wanting to be an
I'll
MP.
tell them what's on
That's
the
the
desk.
best.
So maybe he won't be
Hopefully
doing
they can
it.
pick it up.
I think
No
that's
ticket, they've got
He's been doing it for so long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to grow
I
and
think
change.
you might be forced to now. I'm sure there'll be other people that might go to it. Anyway. Right.
Okay, Hannah.
I just found a sweetie in the bottom of the...
Aren't you lucky?
Look at that. It was sitting there.
God, it's not even wrapped.
It will be a sweet
I
year
think we'll
for
have to
you.
throw it away. If it was wrapped, you'd get probably from last festival.
Can't be here from last. So I don't know. I
It's
have
the angel that you
I haven't been
sweets.
eating
Yes,
sweets.
well,
Didn't fall out of my.
all this
I've always wanted to do a piece of theatre where someone's in the ark when you open it. And our ark is just big enough for it. And you-
Can I ask you a favour so that I don't climb up? Could you switch the light on, please? Thank you.
Okay. Well, last night was lovely.
It was, such a lot of trouble taken by Hepzibah to make it really holy.
She had service in her home last
Yeah,
night.
it was really
Yes.
lovely.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
That's great. That's very nice.
Okay.
Onwards and upwards. And tomorrow is the start of
Yeah.
all the goings on.
Yeah.
Interesting to see who comes.
Yeah.
I'm also interested to see what it will be like in that particular room.
Which, oh,
In
yeah.
the temple. It's a
Yeah.
temple, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to have a look, it was a bit sort of over the top. But we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's strange to have a look that it doesn't have any windows.
So,
But if that's the worst thing we have to adapt to, we're getting away lightly.
Yeah.
I know what I wanted to ask you. For the final service on the 26th, have you got anybody that you would like to invite to read Haftorah? I'm saying this completely dispassionately because I just thought, you know, if there was somebody you particularly wanted to hear reading, perhaps you could let me know.
okay. I'll think about that.
Yeah, and also, I think we need to know something about who you would like to invite as your guests?
Yeah, I've got a few.
Okay, well,
So I'll send an email.
Yeah, he would be very quick.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to toodle off.
Off you go.
I don't want to wait.
Are you leaving this here? This.
Yeah, it lives under here. I'll put them away.
Right. This is.
Oops. Oh, and this came in the post for me. Maybe you want it. You can read it and throw it away.
In the library.
Yeah, it's a nice little brochure.
Okay.
Okay, well, good luck with all that you have to do over the next week or two.
Well, it's less than it used to be, I'm happy to say.
Good.
Much less.
Good.
And Kevin's mother-in-law is coming home to them again today, apparently, after being in respite care. So
Oh, okay.
well enough. So that's an extra stress and strain.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.